should give us enough of a buffer to stop my foolishness. Because you got to wonder, between the buffer and going live, about what kind of foolish things I'm doing on this end of the camera. Welcome, everybody, to WineShark Wednesday. It is I, your host, the WineShark. We are here to enjoy another day of wine knowledge, wine exploration, wine tips and tricks, and really just talk about all things that we love about vines and vino. So today, our topic, we're going to talk about wine preservation tips because, well, guess what? I get this all the time, and I always keep topics, try and keep topics about what you guys are asking me, because I know that obviously means that if there's even one of you left out there to educate, maybe I have a job. And that would be talk about this mythical thing, the unicorn of the wine world, leftover wine. That's right. Hey, it's Stellan Cuthbert. Welcome to the show. But yeah, so leftover wine, like wine left in a bottle when nobody else is around. I am fairly certain that this is some mythical creature, some strange thing, because, well, I think you should all do your part. Drink your wine until the wine is done. But all humor aside, many of us only would like a glass or two on occasion. The standard 750 milliliter format is usually about, 4 glasses by the standard Americans pour. 5 glasses if you're in a restaurant. But basically, the concept that you might not want to drink all this wine has occurred to a few of you. And I want to talk about 5 quick tips on how you handle leftover wine. Okay, so it's going to be some brief hits. And then we're going to talk about the wine quiz, and then we're going to talk about the grocery store grab, which I'm drinking right now. All is great. So I welcome your comments and your questions. Put them in the chat so I can answer them there. Put them in the comments below. And thank you guys for coming to visit with us. So, all right, 5 quick wine storage tips. Number 1. So, by the way, let's set the tone before I do the numbers. Set the tone. You have a bottle of wine. It is red. It is white. It is some other sort of wine. Doesn't matter. But the fact is, you have opened it. And you've decided not to finish all of it for whatever reason. I always make the joke, it could be the 3rd bottle you've opened. So, hey, maybe it is time to stop. So, what we have is we have wine that has been opened. Cork is out. Screw cap is off. Whatever the case may be, what do we do now? We're done drinking. So, rule number 1, get the gas out. Okay? That means oxygen is the enemy. The biggest challenge you're having, your reason that your wine starts to taste different over time after you open the bottle, is a thing called oxidation. Okay? Oxygen reacts with the chemical compounds in wine and starts to change the way it tastes. This happens with a lot of different foods, by the way. Anytime acids are present, usually, you start to see this. For instance, when you cut an apple into slices or cut it in half, it starts to turn brown. That's the same sort of process of oxygen working on that fruit. So we want to get oxygen away from the wine, but obviously our atmosphere is kind of full of that stuff that's key to our living. But the first thing to do is get the oxygen out. If you can't, the most inexpensive, basic concept is at least put the cork back in. The very minimum, that's going to help keep your wine better off. You don't want to just leave it standing open. Get the cork right back in. Okay. Hello there, Miss Donna. Welcome back. And AZ, hey AZ. Well, I missed you too. I'm sorry that you didn't come out to the new show. You didn't get to see Flynn's Pleasure Palace. It was an amazing season at Scarborough Renaissance Festival. But yeah, so at the very least, put the cork back in. At the next best thing, and this is a very inexpensive option here, we're going to use a vacuum vent. So this is a little rubber cork. Okay, it goes in the bottle, uses the pump, pumps the air out. You basically keep pumping it until you start to feel the vacuum pressure on there. That does a good example of getting wine out of, man, we got that hot spot starting to appear back behind my head. Man, my attempts to thwart the sun have been like for naught this year. I apologize. This is just going to bother me as it goes up into the sky. Anyway, vacuum in. $8, a couple of corks, great way to simply solve your problem. Okay. The super special bonus round we're going to actually go to at the end of the grocery store grab, due to the nature of the grocery store grab. So, but at the very least, get the gas out. That's rule number 1. Quick tip number 2, temperature control. Oxidation happens faster at room temperature or warmer temperatures. By putting your wine in the refrigerator, and I don't care whether it's red or white or rosé or sparkling or dessert or any other type, you put your wine, if you're going to store it overnight until you have another glass, refrigerate it. refrigeration lowers that temperature and it slows down the oxidization process, so your wine will last longer. Okay. Quick trip number 3. This one, kind of interesting. This is the idea of simply use science. Yes, so science can help us here. We talked about how our atmosphere is, got a lot of oxygen in it, mostly nitrogen, but still lots of oxygen. So even pumping the air out and creating a semi-vacuum in here doesn't really quite do all the deal. So there is another trick you can use, and that is, actually let me switch my other, you can use something like this. Sometimes grocery store or wine store at the counter buys can actually be kind of interesting. This is an example of a can of wine gas or wine. So what is it? It's an inert gas blanket. What you don't see on the can here is they'll have a little nozzle straw that you stick down in the bottle. And what you do is you just put a little squirt of this gas in here and inside the bottle, and then you cork it up. Why is that magic and science? Well, because what it does is it says, if you read the label there, it says full can feels empty. It's actually full of argon. Okay, so it doesn't have the liquid propellant that you're used to feeling in a lot of other canned products. It just simply, it's under pressure into a rubber bladder, and when it squeezes out, that argon is heavier than the air, and it sits like a quote blanket on the surface of the wine. That keeps an actual chemical barrier from the oxygen from getting to your wine. So a can like this, as it says 120 plus full uses. This will last you a long time, and it works pretty well. I was given a can as a gift and was urged to try it out. I did indeed, and it was basically just as good as using my vacuum bin. So in case I couldn't find it at the moment, etc., and this was sitting on the wine fridge or at my bar, it was an easy thing to spot, grab, and then go ahead and stick right in the bottle. So little science, problem solved. Okay. Next, you can, if you're not in the mood for full science, use your checkbook to get more expensive science. Okay. What I'm talking about here is I'm talking about the Coravine system. And we've talked about this in other classes before, but what this is the next level up. Okay, this is called the Coravine system. What you'll see here is this is a little handle at the top. It's got this long needle that runs down the side, and then it's got a little clasper for the top of the bottle. On the right-hand side there, you'll see 2 little canisters labeled Coravine, and those are argon canisters. What this does is you don't even take the wine cork out. You use the needle to insert down the side of the bottle. The needle is hollow, and you can pour the wine out through the little nozzle. Then it injects argon to basically keep the wine pressurized, and oxygen ne'er touches your wine. Coravines are basically said to be one of the most neutral ways of serving your wine without oxygen exposure. This is great if you're serving very expensive wines that you don't want to dole out by the bottle. So often this is really kind of regulated to restaurant and bar use, where they might have a $200-300 bottle of wine that you can actually order by the glass for $40 a glass. Well, that's pretty cool. If you want to try that out and you only want to buy one glass, this is how they would do it. However, the systems are expensive. Compared to the $8 vacuum bin, these will run you $150 to $250. So you be the judge of whether you need to spend that much money on this one particularly small problem, which, to be honest with you, we're going to go with tip number 5. Bring a friend. If you're having trouble finishing a bottle of wine, the best answer is to either A, commit, finish the bottle of wine anyway, but if you're not in the mood for imbibing that much, get social, right? Or very thirsty, maybe both. But get social. My best advice is not to leave wine behind. Plan your wine drinking around the opportunity to grab a friend, enjoying wine together, be able to do the social part of what wine kind of brings us together to do, especially if you've got another real wine-loving friend. That's where you're going to find some of the best explorations and the best way to learn about wine in your life. In other words, you're going to get those opportunities to discuss the wine and what you smell, what you taste, what you feel in your mouth, and really put it to the test by talking to somebody else about it. This is something we as professionals do all the time. Peer-to-peer training and the constant practice with others is really important to getting better at tasting. So my 5th line is simply, get social, do that thing. Skip the expensive science part. Definitely, though, get yourself a vacuum bin if you just happen to need one. These are easy. That you'll find them at most liquor stores these days. They're not hard to find. I even see them at the grocery store on occasion. So those are 5 quick tips for keeping your wine once it's been opened. Get the gas out, control the temperature, use science, more expensive science, or find a friend. All right? Now, today's example of the grocery store grab is going to give us a super secret 6th tip, which I'll get to in just a little while. So, okay, now time for the wine quiz. So, we've been playing our Wine Wars game here. We're going to randomly grab a wine questionnaire from the pile, and I will use the back card to remind you there are 5 categories in the wine quiz, and this is kind of like a stump the chump. It's also a way I test my knowledge and make sure, we're all good to go. Tom says, so don't drink the leftover wine for breakfast. Well, that's perfectly acceptable too, depending on your level of hangover. Also, remember, leftover wine. I mean, I'm just against the concept. But all right, so no one said that, right? All right, so we've got vine to vino, graposphere, wine cellar, wine and food, and cork culture. Those are the 5 categories. Vine to vino is all about growing grapes, making wine, and world production. Graposphere is all about grape varieties, the type of wines that they're made from, or made from them, and their geography. Wine cellar is about selecting, storing, and tasting wine. Wine and food, my personal fave. Cooking with wine, food and wine pairing, and wine service. And then lastly, cork culture. This is about wine, wine people, business, arts, sciences, and trivia. So, all right. So we're going to give you guys a little break and a pause before I answer any of the questions, but we're going to start off from top to bottom. We've got our first question from Vine to Vino. True or false? In 2001, Israeli scientists developed a winemaking technique that boosts antioxidants in white wine to the same levels found in red wine. So, 2001, Israeli scientists, they managed to boost up antioxidants in white wine to the same levels of red. True, false question. That's one of those odd things, because I suppose if you're using your wine to get your antioxidants, you're probably a pretty fun person. I mean, most people just eat salmon, but they're like, screw it, I'll have Cabernet instead. So it wouldn't surprise me in any way, shape, or form if somebody was manipulating wine to put more antioxidants in it because they think that it'll sell more wine. So I'm going to go ahead and guess true. AZ says it's false, and Tom says it's true. Cuthbert's thinking false. All right, so I've given my logic. Let's figure it out here. Donna, you going to weigh in? Give you a second. All right. Says true. Says Technion Israeli Institute of Technology in conjunction with Binyamia Winery in Binyamia, Israel. So it looks like they would do, again, you'd be amazed at what the health market will do. If they can convince you wine is better for you, they're absolutely going to try. All right, so that's it. Our next question, all right. What country's most planted red grape is Syrah and goes by the local name Shiraz? All right, this should be a good one, a pretty common one. What country's most planted grape is the grape called Syrah, but is known worldwide by its nickname locally as Shiraz? Or if you're from California, it's pronounced Shiraz. All right, give everybody a chance to answer. This is a totally easy one. I mean, most of you guys know that Syrah is one of my favorite grapes. So, everybody a chance. I have to figure out how you could all hit the enter button at the same time, so that nobody's cheating off of anybody else. AC, Cuthbert, got anything? There it is. All right. The answer is yes, indeed. Australia. Australia, if you're just going to be local. Australia. Grape also takes its name from name Shiraz in South Africa. Yeah, so, and you'll see it mixed both in Australia and, pardon me, I just dropped the clue card. Now I gotta find it. You'll find it called Shiraz or Syrah in California as well. So I've seen both examples. All right, next question. What is the tasting term for underachieving wine that doesn't show its full potential? Do we use the term closed, or do we call it hollow? Okay, this is the tasting term for an underachieving wine that doesn't show its full potential. Is it closed, or do we call it hollow? All right. France. Well, AZ, they make a lot of Syrah in France. That's not a bad choice. I'm just trying to be different. There it is. All right. She's hey, I'm going to make sure that we don't cheat. But no, good answers. All right, so what is it? Closed or hollow? What's the nickname? What is the wine term that we use when wine isn't living up to its full potential? I mean, it's only a two-part question, so you guys can see how it goes. All right. See, Mark's joined us and weighed in. Good, nice to visit with you guys. All right. Cuthbert says hollow. Tom says closed. AZ says hollow. So for those of you that have been to my show before, you might have heard me use this word. Oftentimes, I use it in terms of aromatics, but the idea and the visual comparison I used is to a flower, okay? And that a flower that has not yet fully opened up. So often we use the word closed when we talk about wine being from underachieving. Yes, hollow refers to a wine that lacks depth and body. So yeah, being closed means it's that bud that hasn't yet turned into a full flower. You'll also you'll hear me refer to that, especially with aromatics, when wines are served too cold. They taste closed. So yeah, so closed wines not achieving full potential. Hollow means they got that empty sort of mid-mouth feel. They lack body. But all right, good choices. All right, everybody's learning lots. AZ's got to bring it up here in the last half. All right, true/false question. A 2008 fictitious restaurant, Ostiera L'Intrepido, as in the Intrepid. Ostiera the Intrepid was awarded a Wine Spectator magazine's Award of Excellence. So in 2008, was there a fake restaurant that got Wine Spectator's Award of Excellence? That's an interesting industry question. I don't know that it has anything to do with wine and food, but okay. Just means you should be drinking more. That's right. All right. So, you guys can even hold on to this one if you guys want to score it correctly. It sounds like it would be fun if it was true, though, doesn't it? I mean, if Wine Spectator got one wrong, or are we basically, because the weird part about this question is it's just saying, do you trust Wine Spectator and their reporting abilities? It's really got nothing to do with or did you hear of this one little weird thing? I mean, stuff from the internet in 2008, that's like forever ago. All right, answer is true. For this most basic Wine Spectator award, site visits are not required. A wine writer submitted the required paperwork and fee for a non-existent restaurant. Wow. So like I said, it'd be fun if it was true. And somebody pulled one on the Wine Spectator team there. Okay, last question. What 2004 documentary film taking on the globalization of wine features a wine critic, a wine consultant, and a Napa wine family? This is one where you've got to be more familiar with, again, this is wine trivia that I'm afraid yours truly is a little blind to on this one. 2004 doc film taking on globalization and featured a critic, consultant, and a Napa wine family. Ooh. Stella said true and is hitting over that. Well, Stella has not beating Cuthbert over the head for his one funky guess. But, all right, 2004 documentary film. Anybody have even a stab in the dark? I do not. I mean, we can go ahead and we'll guess. I mean, the only documentary films I really know about wine really are the Somm series when it really kind of came out. So, and I know that's not it because it was much younger than that. Oh, pardon me, I dropped the card again. All right, everybody's had a chance to think. Mondovino with Robert Parker Jr., go figure, Michael Rowland, and the Mondavi family. Mondovino. Well, I guess if Parker was involved, I probably should have. Yeah, exactly. Sounds like Bottle Shock, but that's not a documentary. Good point, Tom. Exactly. It's one of those. That was a fictional tale, but yeah. So about globalization. So this actually ought to be interesting. Parker, for those of you that are not familiar, the Robert Parker and the Wine Advocate were hugely influential in the wine review world and kind of shaped it in there. I'm interested to know who the consultant was, who Michael Rowland was, but obviously the Mondavi family were hugely influential in not only California wine making and so AZ seen Mondovino. All right, see, look at that. Well, you got pulled out the really tough question then. That was easily the hardest of the group. So, Anyway, the idea that you talk about wine globalization and the pro cons of it is a very interesting concept. Robert Mondavi, I've heard secondhand from people who worked with him in the industry, was not only a very dynamic fellow, but even hearing my professional education and understanding about how he really changed the world of wine from California perspective, and then even really did a job of merging European craftsmanship and American industrialism to turn wine into a much bigger global product. So that very interesting thing, and looks like I have something to look forward to go documentary time. I will have to have wine and charcuterie night with a good old-fashioned documentary. All right. Well, that's awesome. So AZ got the toughest question out there, though. So I see that at least counts for something there, AZ. All right. Last but never least on our wine show, we would like to talk about the grocery store grab. For those of us that are not familiar, the grocery store grab is our attempt to get that best value per dollar for wines found at non-specialty and non-big box retailers. If out of necessity or convenience you shop for your wines at the grocery store, you might find that you're not in a good position to get a lot of well-educated help. They generally have wine staffs at your local grocery store. So we rely on bottle labeling, and we wanted to look into how wines are labeled and we try and reward wines that are well labeled for us. Now, today's wine selection was an interesting combination of both. However, I specifically selected this wine so we could give a bonus tip on saving our wines. The wine today, actually here, let me show you the actual label from the label images capture, because we did that, is Domaine Chandon Brut Rosé, a California sparkling wine. Yes, it even says exceptional sparkling wine right up on top, right? Un monde de possibilities, a world of possibilities. Since 1959, Chandon has been making wine in California, sparkling wine specifically. This is their Brut Rosé. Now, interestingly, on the front of the label here, you'll see on your left-hand side there, it says méthode traditionnelle. This means that the wine was made by carbonating inside the bottle with the yeast cells in it, giving it a depth of character that we're hoping to find an elegant, awesome thing. So, crafted by our winemakers in California by blending grapes harvested at night. Interesting notes on the front, that's for sure, although you might wonder why they might harvest at night if you're a new to wine drinker, but to say the least, that's for temperature control, by the way. That's usually why we harvest at night. Keeps the heat off of them. But on the back label here, Chandon Brut Rosé. At Chandon, we've been crafting the most exceptional sparkling wines since our foundation in Argentina in 1959. We form a passionate and bold community of winemakers located in unexpected lands across Argentina, Brazil, California, Australia, China, and India. In California, Chandon harvests under the stars in the cool night air when fruit expression is brightest and the aromatics are protected. A refreshing fruit expression of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, Chandon Brut Rosé is a bright and delicate with aromas of strawberry and cherry. So, one sentence out of that was really the important part that we wanted to say, in my opinion. That would be the strawberry and cherry notes. It's telling us what we're tasting. But also they included on the back what grapes this wine was made from. They weren't on the front label, so on the back they said that this is a Pinot Noir Chardonnay expression. Okay, pink wines, rosé sparklers, are usually made by making a regular white wine and then injecting a little bit of red. Very often Pinot Noir, about 5% of it in there to give it its nice pink color. As you can see in my glass, it's got this nice little salmon-looking color that is very indicative of this style of wine. Pink sparklers like this are becoming more and more popular. I really enjoy them on a warm day anyway, like today, so that's why I not only said, I wanted to get a sparkling wine to do tip 6, which tip 6 is, you can't just put the cork in here and you can't just get the gas out. This has gas in it on purpose. In fact, bubbles you're paying for. So what you want to look for is one of these. Okay, this is actually from Bolla, right? This is an Italian Prosecco. But what it is it's a cork with a rubber. It's got little expandable pistons in it. So what you do is it comes down on here, and you squeeze it, and then it locks in this collar. And see how the collar goes underneath. That helps keep this from popping out. This stops the off-gassing of your champagne, sparkling wine, Prosecco, Cava, Sekt, etc. This will then stay nice and fresh over the course of staying in the refrigerator overnight. So grab yourself one of these if you like sparklers. You can see them, find them occasionally at your liquor stores, or if you're like me, what you do is you beg your sales reps for them, and they give them for you because they love you. So this one came from my friend Tim. But yeah, so get yourself one of those. That's how you preserve sparkling wine. Super secret, tip 6. All right, but back to the labeling. What do we find on the label that we wanted to know? Well, we've got right information. Who makes it? Chandon. Where's it from? California. What's inside the bottle? Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. What's it taste like in common and easy to understand words? Well, aromas, it says a bright and delicate with expressions of strawberry and cherry. That's what we have to go on if we don't know anything else about this wine. So I would rate this about maybe C plus, B minus. Right? There's a lot of marketing stuff on there, but one of the extra reasons I would give them a free bump up is while they said harvested at night on the front, they actually told you why they harvested at night on the back. That's when the fruit is at its finest expression of aroma, etc. So that's kind of cool. I think that's fun wine knowledge and educational, not just marketing speak, as opposed to, hey, look, we're all over the world, which is cool, but not necessarily important to how the wine tastes. So, delicate, yeah, certainly. Sparkling wine, this has got a nice little bit of consistent mousse. Method traditional wines, or method traditional, or champagne method wines, tend to have a nice long set of bubbles. The mousse in them tends to linger and last. I actually got sent an interesting article from a person who, well, I didn't see it sent from the person. My friend Kyle sent it to me. But the article was about a guy doing research on how are bubbles formed in champagne. In other words, what is actually going on that causes that continuation of that process, and he also studied the opening of the cork and the violent gas off release that we get from champagne corks, which, by the way, they can actually break the sound barrier to get that nice little pop going on. And they did basically a really slow camera footage of when the bottle opened up and then the cork comes out, and then there's a little shock wave and then a ring shape, and it's a whole thing. I'm like, hey, it must be cool to shoot lasers at champagne bottles and record the results, for science. Great job. But nice and bubbly, beautiful salmon, salmon pink color, bordering on almost almost not quite to the orangish part of salmon, but pretty close. Right on the nose, it's got the distinctive method traditional nose, which is this kind of Melba toast bread yeasty thing going down. Okay, so it's got that kind of weird funkiness in the nose that indicates that this is a handcrafted, bottle-crafted champagne, or sparkling wine in this case. You can also get traditional method cava, by the way, so it's not just about being French to do this. They have a lot of places to do this. All right, Mark was saying, Mike Spectator said, save your wine by freezing it and then warm it in the microwave. What? Mark? I'm not even sure if you're being jocular at this point, but if freezing your wine is bad for you, that's why frosé is bad for you. It screws up the aroma particles. But I'm saying, red wines and precipitates. Who knows? Cuthbert also said, Stella says they use down on their luck vampires to harvest their grape. Nice. That's exactly what it is that night harvesting is a whole part of it. After the franchise for, sparkly vampires went out of style, what are you going to do? Yeah, but the nose on this, most say I get the traditional, but I definitely get that hint of strawberry. It smells like a strawberry shortcake. Because of that extra yeasty bread, rising bread thing, it comes off more as a piece of strawberry cake, which is, delightful. Can't say anything bad about strawberry cake. On the tongue, bright is a perfect word. Not only, of course, do we have the textural mouthfeel of sparkling wines, which give us all that wonderful texture, that tingling on our sensation on our tongue. It's wonderful. It's why we drink sparkling wine. But also, the acid in this is very well preserved. There's still that little sting and mouth-wateringness. So while this wine is a brut, right, which is the second level lowest of our dry scale of champagne, so we are champagne/sparklers, right? This is not sugary at all. There's no residual sugar left in this. Right? It's very, 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 very dry, measured in very small portions that you as a human can't even detect. Okay, but that strawberry cake sensation doesn't come along with any sweetness. It just comes along as bright and fruity. So really fun on the palate. Very light, very easy to drink. Again, not sweet. If you're looking for a sweet drink, this is not your jam, right? Stay away from things with the word brut on them. Right? You want to look for doux, D-O-U-X. That's sweet, right? Or demi-sec, which is half dry. But yes. Oh, and actually, while on their label, they've actually got here on the bottom of the label, I'm noticing that it says it is Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Meunier, which is the other allowed grape of Champagne, by the way. Pinot Meunier is the other that you hear much less of. Chardonnay and Pinot Noir get all the big press, but Pinot Meunier is a good thing. So that's kind of cool. 12% ABV, also saith the bottle. So this is a mid-range, right? You're not talking about super high alcohol, but you're not getting away at, light levels of Riesling either at 7 to 10%. You're getting that middle of the road, so expect to drink accordingly. But this is fun. Now, price point on this. This is a $21 bottle of wine. Okay, so this was at the grocery store. Not every grocery store I would expect would maybe have this, but Domaine Chandon is a second label for the very famous Moet Chandon. So if it's good enough for Queen and laser beams and other such things, it's probably going to be a pretty darn worldwide name. So Moet Chandon is their main line. This is Domaine Chandon. This is their secondary label, designed to shoot at that $20 price point, right? They want to be competitive with Freixenet and Mumm and some of the other California sparkling wine producers, and also your Prosecco producers. Because since Prosecco generally comes in at, anywhere between 10 to 15 bucks. So that's their competitor in the sparkling wine world. And because they're using traditional method, that is adding a little bit to their cost, but I think it pays off. I think this is actually a great example. It is not nuanced as some of the other versions I've had, but frankly, to get a $20 bottle of Method Traditional, I don't care whether it's from California. And if you do, you're not thinking about your wine properly. So, if it's all in the location for you, then so be it. But this, totally drinkable, very doable. So for our 3 questions, is it well executed? Absolutely. This is on the button, exactly what you would expect for this type of product. Is it on style? Yes. This exactly tastes like pink, bubbly things should. And especially more when I would compare it to as pink champagne rather than pink Prosecco, which is fairly new. Rosé Proseccos are brand new as of 2020. So this has a little bit more body to it than that, okay? Now, it's not as complicated as some of the really big high-line, very famous examples, the multi-$100 versions from the Dom Perignon family, etc. But still, for a $20 bottle of pink bubbly, it's definitely making the style tag. Is it worth the price tag? Oh, yeah. Yeah, if this is something that you dig, this is right in the wheelhouse. And I would also say very convenient. My favorite brand that I get from Total Wine, Domaine Chandon, comes in at about just a few dollars more per price point. And while this isn't quite as interesting, I would put it as a close darn second. I would easily, if I was in a rush and wanted to pick up a bottle of pink bubbly for a party or something, and this happened to be right there when I'm doing other stuff at the grocery store, great choice. So highly recommended from yours truly. Not, again, grocery store grab isn't about all these weird and elegant stuff. It's about practical, everyday drinking, and this is a great example. All right, Angela Carter said, late to the party, will you show the bottle again? Absolutely will, Miss Angela. It looks a little bit like that. Very elegant. It's got a star on it. It's got pink. It's got embossed labeling. It's very tactile. Classy with a K. Not really. It's actually classy with a C. But this is, again, very good example of California's sparkling wine industry, which sadly just doesn't get a lot of good press, but reality is it's totally worth drinking. It's not when they're not going in after international competitions generally, as far as I know, though. So there you go. There you are. All right. Any other questions from anybody before we get going? We did pretty good on our wine quiz. AZ saved us all from the end from not knowing the last question, which I thought was hilarious. And Cuthbert only got smacked around a little for getting the question wrong that Stella got right. But for my local friends, speaking of announcement times and things like that, more business with WineShark locality, we have a new weekly gig. This time in Fort Worth, Texas, over at the Sleeping Panther in downtown Fort Worth. Every Sunday, yours truly will be hosting a 5-wine, 4-food pairing every Sunday from 4 to 6 at the Sleeping Panther. With the $50 ticket price includes all your wine and your food, plus you get a free entry into the drag show afterwards and the comedy show that follows. So great way to spend your Sunday afternoon, wind down, get out of the heat. We're going to be doing summer-themed wines for now, for the rest of this month, right? We're going to do poolside wines. Then we'll do great grillers, probably during the next month of July, and we'll see what August brings us. But it's a great opportunity if you guys ever got to join me at the Tower. The show is very similar in format and style, except we're down here in downtown Fort Worth instead. So great opportunity for me. I'm really very pleased to be partnering with them. And for you guys, it's got some great value to really just do some cool stuff. I mean, if you really want to do a whole long thing, you can come to Drag Brunch at noon, then stay for my show at 4, stay for the drag show afterwards, and then get your comedy on all the way up until the evening if you really want a long day of drinking. But it'll be good stuff. Cuthbert says, Stella loves the science, and said, thanks to science. You're welcome for science, Miss Cuthbert. Sorry, Miss Stella. The fact is, we should actually go into, you can go into the heavier than oxygen options with the gas blankets. It's really kind of cool stuff. So, and the answer to Angela, no, I will not be wearing any costumes. I have plenty of lovely ladies dressing in drag. You do not need me in costume, and you certainly don't want to see me in drag. So there's a whole separate thing there. But no, I will not be in costume, nor as usual. I will be dressed as me, the WineShark. You know, the other 10 months of my life, Angela. So you can join me down there, enjoy a fun glass, and be great stuff. Besides which, you don't have to wear a costume. Think about how easy that makes it for you to show up. All right, any other questions before I get going? Happy that you guys were here to join me. Thank you for all of your participation and for playing the quiz with me today. That was really fun. I hope everybody gets a chance to do it some more. If you do have other questions and things in comments, you put them down in the comments below. Much appreciated from me to you. Helps keep the channel running. If you like what you see, share it with a wine-loving friend. The channel's been growing wonderfully, and I really appreciate you guys' attention. As most of you know, I don't do this from a YouTube perspective to be some sort of YouTube star. I do it to share knowledge and to give an opportunity to share with people that I don't get to see on a person-to-person basis. So your guys' support is always so amazing. And if you also want to support me and support the channel in general, you can also join us over on Patreon. Still working on getting cool Patreon benefits that are really worth the while because I haven't been able to produce video content the way I want. But I want to get some cool stuff for my patrons, including discounted tickets to local shows, VIP events that are basically access to first row seating, for instance, at places like the Sleeping Panther, which will be exclusive to my Patreons. Or first come, first serve with Patrons anyway. You guys get the first shot before they go on sale. Anyway, but the idea is the Patrons, I really appreciate all the support you guys show me there too. So if you're interested, go there and go to the WineShark web store. If you go to wineshark.com and check out the merchandise option, you can buy cool WineShark merchandise, including caps and shirts. And I think I've got a coffee mug, but I'm going to double check. I'll have a new t-shirt design coming out very soon, and you can actually get World of Wine t-shirts from the Renaissance Festival, which feature the Cat and Fiddle logo and the World of Wines with Flynn Markley. Those will only be available to the end of June. Then I will cease sales for 2022. So if you want to get the 2022 copy, go get it now. So, and the cool part is they're delivered right to your door, so you don't even have to worry about it. All right. That being said, I have been your WineShark. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen. And I am not going to use this. I'm going to finish this bottle. So there.